Hello, Taurus. Welcome back to Mind, Body, and Hand Tarot Therapy. I'm so happy to sit with you here today. We are going through remarkable times, and I'm sure we're all taking it in different ways on a very personal level, but as well as a collective, right? We can always relate to certain different experiences and be part of something. But at the same time, we also have a very personal, very unique process. So, Taurus, I hope you're well. Okay, you have a 4 of Wands already. With your current energy. We're gonna enter Taurus season next month as well. So happy birthday to the early Tauruses. So let's see what's your challenge for the month of April, Taurus. Four of Swords. Sorry, wait. Yes, no, I'm okay. Sometimes I get really confused with dates. So I was like, wait, what? Are we entering Taurus or no? All right, we have the Eight of Pentacles as your focus. Let's see what's your advice. It's the Seven of Swords as your advice. Let's see what's the future energy. Ten of Cups. Wow, you're thriving. Okay, and bottom of the deck you have the Page of Cups as your underlying energy. Okay. I'll put out the clarifiers before we even go into this. Nine of Swords with the Four of Wands as your current energy. Very understandable. Okay. Five of Wands with the Four of Swords as your challenge. Seven of Wands with the Eight of Pentacles as your focus. Okay, we have two. The Magician with the Queen of Pentacles as your advice. Beautiful. Which makes a lot of sense actually. And what else? Yet another 10. 10 of Swords with the 10 of Cups as your future energy. And yet another page. Okay, so we have the Page of Wands with the Page of Cups as your underlying energy. This is the theme of your reading. This is what you're working with on a general level in the month of April. Okay. And I believe it has to do a lot with inner child work. I don't know if you're familiar with inner child work. If you're not, look it up. It's something that it's a useful method and tool to work with ourselves and to heal some of our deepest wounds. Pages are representing children in tarot. And the Page of Cups has to do a lot with emotions and connection with subconscious. You see that there's this fish popping up from this cup. This means that there's like a message coming from your subconscious mind that you may or may not be able to interpret easily. Maybe you're having some interesting dreams, or maybe your emotionals, I don't know, maybe you get those instant knowing things. It has a name, Claire something. Doesn't matter. I don't like those labels anyway. Page of Cups, Page of Wands, yes. So, and the Page of Wands, it talks to creativity, and actually they're both very creative. The cups and the wands. Suits both speak about creativity, but in a slightly different ways. The cups are about the emotions. It's about creative expression of emotions, I suppose, and putting emotions into what you're doing. And yeah, the page of wands is more about creative in everything, not just art. Page of cups is much more connected to artistic creation. But the page of wands, of course, yeah, wands in general do talk about artistic creation, but it's also the creative way that we put ourselves out there. That's what the wands are about. It's fire energy. That's what the fire energy represents, in a sense. It's our way to putting ourselves out there through action, through our passions and that kind of stuff. Okay. But when I was saying that I think there's a lot of child work happening, is because as I said, pages represent children, and they also talk about the process of natural growth, the transformation that happens naturally if given the right environment. Of course, if you have a child, and if you don't feed the child, and if you don't give it what it needs, it can happen anything, including death, neglect and whatever. But if nurtured and if taken care of, the kids don't just grow naturally. You don't need to pull them, push them, stretch them in order for them to grow. It's a natural process, right? So I feel like this type of natural process, you're undergoing this type of natural process of growth, and you may also have the opportunity to go back to those parts within you that lacked nurturing in your childhood, and give yourself what you needed. Inner child world implies a lot of this reparenting of ourselves. That means that, for example, if my parents didn't know how to show me love, or didn't know how to show me healthy emotional coping system, or they weren't able to co-regulate with me whenever I would go into temper tantrums and things like this, then I don't really have a model of how to work with that. Well, now we are adults. Now we got out of that. We whatever that was in childhood that you didn't know how to deal with, or you those needs weren't met. You somehow survived, and you are okay now. And we're learning so much more. We're learning so much more about how to take care of ourselves. But our inner child is still stuck somewhere in space and time of our beings, and we notice that whenever we're challenged in certain ways, we literally regress back to the mentality and reactions of a child. So that may come up, that may come out, and it's natural. We are under a lot of stress. There's a lot of triggers out there, and these triggers can manifest themselves in so many different ways. Either if you're in quarantine or in self-isolation, if you're alone, it can manifest in this loneliness, or not really knowing how to cope. Or if it's the other way around, if you're stuck with family or with friends or with people, whatever kind of people, that may also be very challenging in a way to relate, and we can feel like, I don't know, like scared children, or like whatever shows up for you. Let's go through that. Let's go through it step by step, actually. But yeah, I think that's a lot about reparenting your inner child and allowing for that growth to happen, as well as allowing this process as it is right now, in whatever shape and form manifests for you to take place, because it can happen naturally, can lead to beautiful growth, provided you give yourself the space, acceptance, and nurturing that you need. All right, so the Four of Wands and the Nine of Swords. I suppose the people that are actually reaching out to this reading are more or less stuck at home. This Four of Wands is about home environment and all. And you may be stuck with your family, most of the people, or with at least another one person. And you may be terrified of the things that may show up, all the unspoken words, all of the untreated wounds, all of the resentments that may have been suppressed in time. They may show up a lot, right? So yeah, this is what I'm getting with this Four of Wands, that it may be that you're stuck somewhere at home with others. If you're all alone, then maybe this is not your reading. I will just take it as this for now. Of course, it can be interpreted actually in the sense also that if you're alone, you have this fear of missing out, of being with others, of being with the family, of having to be with the family. Maybe you're worried about them, or maybe you just miss them and things like that. But yeah, I think the focus on this reading is those that are spending a lot of time now with their significant, the people that are significant to you. This is, yeah, family. Right, so there's a lot of things that had been suppressed, and there's a lot of fear. You may have a lot of anxiety, and you may not really know how to bring it out, how to address it, how to, because sometimes we are like, especially if we're not stuck alone, and if other people depend on us, we are feel even more pressure to play the traditional roles. If you're a mother, for example, to be the one that's nurturing and taking care of everyone. So maybe you don't feel like you actually have an outlet of expression of your own fear and space for that. If you're the father, again, you need to show the protective role of the strong character that, yeah, we're gonna get out of this, everything's gonna be okay, and provide safety and some type of security, which is actually hard to come by these days, since we don't know, the whole world goes through quite unprecedented phase that is arguable how what was going to bring in the long run. Obviously it is not a point of stability where we can be the protective providing figure. Of course it can still work somehow. A lot of people show a lot of ingenuity about moving their services online and things like that, and I appreciate that a lot. But a lot of people don't have that luxury or that creativity or whatever. Okay, if you're a child in all this, or if you're like, whatever role it is that you have, it may be, yeah, just to finish that point, it's possible that you feel that you can't express yourself and you need to continue playing that role in your home. Even if you are the child, for example, you would be, maybe you wouldn't want to scare your parents or your siblings or whatever. So you would want to, probably you would feel like you have to be the strong one, or the one that hold space. The thing is that we're all going through this together, and it is important, of course, to hold space for each other and be there for each other, but at the same time we also need to honor what we're going through. And my feelings are as valid as yours, even if we're maybe used to play certain roles. Even if I'm a mother needing to take care of my tiny children, I still need to admit to my fear and allow myself to see what am I burying down there. Otherwise, the inner child will come out and it's going to take over as in a tantrum, and it's not going to be very easy to cope. Okay, so the biggest challenge seems to be for you right now to kind of quiet your mind. It is important, of course, to quiet the mind right now, to not give in into this type of anxiety and fear. You know, the swords symbolize thoughts and ideas, and be given that these are like on this black background, it means that this person is actually shoving them off into the subconscious mind, doesn't want to deal with them consciously or unconsciously. Sometimes we really put things away. I don't want to think about that. Or sometimes we just functions as a defense mechanism. So it's not about judging or blaming here, but it's happening. So you might actually get caught into this trance of fear and anxiety, which again is very understandable. And obviously it's challenging to put your mind at rest, to really rest, to take a breather. My God, if you've got a few kids around you, it's probably, I can't even imagine. So it's hard to take a real rest and to gather your strength. And this may show up in you being maybe a little bit feisty and challenging with the others around you. And yeah, that comes from that space again, like with the pages here. I'm gonna move this down a little bit, probably see it better. These pages here do talk about, as I said, like the inner child, and the inner child, the way it shows up is in a very childish way. So maybe you would feel like you need to prove yourself, or that you need to compete with the others in the family for whatever role it is that you're wanting to play, or you know, when we are stressed out, we just snap. When we are terrified, we can also snap. I feel like because of this challenge of yours of not being able to quiet your mind and feeling all the time this fear and anxiety, turn off the news every once in a while. Just a piece of advice there. It's good to not get all the time overloaded with information in times like this. Yeah, it may show up in this sense, like, yeah, here I am, I'm confronting everyone about everything. Confronting, yeah, that could be the word. Sorry, I had a conversation earlier with a friend about this word, and I'm not gonna get into it, but it's interesting that it showed up like this. Okay, so focus. I think that it's very important for you right now to get a routine in place. It is important for everyone, of course. This may sound very general, but I think for you specifically, Taurus, right now it's very important to put a routine in place. A routine that you know, when you're on Earth sign, routine is very important for you. Dealing with your things very physical, maybe the time you wake up, the things that you preparing your meal, things like this. And work on something that you enjoy doing. If you enjoy drawing, for example, take your time and sit somewhere in a corner and draw. If you actually have a lot of work, like, I don't know, let's not assume necessarily that everyone is in self-isolation and is in holiday. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you get like 10 times busier because the work amounts, and there's different ways of working that need adaptation. We need to adapt. So if you actually do work at home, you need to also set a routine for that. It's pretty difficult to work at home for many people. Well, it's important to have that transition space between the sleeping space and a working space, and some of us can be trapped in bigger houses with more rooms where you can actually separate the space. Other people can be trapped in completely like in one room. It's harder to separate the space, or maybe in one room with I don't know how many other people, right? So it's definitely hard to separate, to have any type of little space for yourself. But these routines are important right now. Still, there's many tips out there. I've seen so many articles now giving a lot of advice in this direction of how to work from home, how to organize the time and things like this. But this organization is necessary. And I think you can do it because Taurus, you're really good at this. You really are good at putting that type of like very earthly, very physical structure, how to structure your time, how to structure the chores and things like this. Make your lists. Maybe dress up even though you don't leave the house, or things like this. What works for you, like what works for you, Taurus, and if you need advice in that direction, look up what you resonate with. And those of you that don't work and are just stuck in a perpetuum boredom time at home, you can find the little things that you really enjoy doing that also take a lot of just like working with your hands of something. Maybe, as I said, drawing, painting. It's also about creativity, right? Allowing your creativity to show up. There's a lot of space for creativity right now in so many different ways. Artistic expression, but also, like I was saying with the Page of Wands, this whole... Oh, but this is what the other way around. This is just like however we deal with our situation right now, coming up with creative ways of dealing with it. There's space for that. There's space for that right now. But the Eight of Wands is much more about putting the repetitive work, something that it's craftsmanship almost. Maybe you're starting building up your shelves in your room, order stuff from deliver, and get to that project that maybe you wanted to do in a long time. Build that extra shelf, plant your home garden on your balcony or on your wherever you are, in home pots and stuff like that. If you have an actual garden, go out there and do your thing. It's that type of routine. Work with your hands, work with your body. Okay, and Seven of Wands, I think it actually comes a lot in relation to this Five of Wands here. Yes, in times like this, it's very hard, especially if you're stuck with family, like this card indicates here. It's very important for you to stand your boundaries and to stand your ground. You don't need to go out there to confront anyone about anything. This is not a time for confrontation. Some things will show up, of course, but we don't need to really make a constant fire out of it, because it's very hard to clear the waters afterwards. But what it is important is, instead of instead of like going in confrontation mode, just to stand your ground. Okay, these are my boundaries, these are my limits, this is what I can do, and whatever it is that you do, communicate. We can regulate our boundaries and allow yourself to really go at the core of what is it that you believe in, what is it that you truly need. The Wands also talk about belief system, and the Seven of Wands talks about like standing up for your beliefs, and allow those beliefs that maybe you're not so sure about to be challenged. And if they don't add up, then maybe it's time to let them go. Maybe sometimes we get so attached to certain beliefs that we completely not realize that they probably don't serve us anymore, but those that matter to are important. And with these two together now, like having them together as your focus, I think it's very important to do also that type of work of going through the things that are important to you to stand up for on a global level. Like, come on, this crisis is so deeply hinting at our morality and ethics, and a lot of people have different opinions about how this should be dealt with. There are a lot of conspiracy theories coming out, like there's nothing happening. Others saying that, oh no, I don't know. Whatever your idea is, whatever you're coming from, it's time to put it under scrutiny and maybe write them down, put time in it, revisit them, because it's important what you put out there. It's like reparenting again. It's reparenting that child that maybe they would never had the time for this, maybe never had the time to put so much work into what your value system is. Maybe you were functioning from it in a very unconscious way, and now we're being asked to have a, there is a lot of responsibility that we start having in this pandemic, for example, and how you choose to put yourself out there, in your expression and in your communication, is very important. And it really needs to come from the core of your belief system, not just random stuff, because our words and our opinions actually have much more weight than we realize. And with Seven of Swords and the Magician with the Queen of Pentacles is your advice. See, there's yet another seven. Sevens do talk, as I said, about taking stock. So you're taking stock of your belief system, and you're also taking stock of the thoughts that are passing through your mind. And the way you can do that is with the Queen of Pentacles, like, being nurturing with yourself, being very grounded with yourself, and giving your inner child this type of motherly love that it never... in a way that maybe it didn't have before. Not to say anything that your mother wasn't loving or things like that, but sometimes like we can all come short in so many ways, on different circumstances and stuff. So in order for you to be able to deal with your fear, in order for you to be able to deal with this feisty part of yourself that is just trying to prove itself out somehow, you need to observe it. You need to observe the thoughts and the belief systems that are kind of like passing through you without getting attached to them, and simply nurture. This process will happen naturally. This growth happens naturally as you just nurture. And nurture, nurture yourself in a very grounded way, allowing the thoughts just to be revealed, not by believing them. Everything will start coming into your mind. Oh my god, we're all gonna die. We start like creating so many scenarios of how things are gonna happen or not, or let's not go into that. It's not about formulating ideas, it's the other way around. It's about letting go of the mind, because that's what you need to do right now, right? You need to calm down the mind and go into your body. You can definitely have the Eight of Pentacles here with routines of exercise and food and all that, being very healthy, creating a healthy and clean environment for yourself. And as you don't put so much effort into either shutting the mind down, either by not like kind of running away of the fearful thoughts, because we don't want to think them, but they come anyway. But as you switch your focus on your body and on your physical reality, the mind can reveal itself. You can start seeing whenever these we try to rationalize our way around stuff. And it's very important, because we can sometimes see our belief system and we think that we stand up for ourselves, but then we end up doing other stuff that are completely out of character. They're in completely in direct opposition of what is it that we think we stand for. Maybe I'm generally advocating for a social system, but now that blah 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 happened, I'm acting in a very I don't even know how to put this, self-serving way, and it's fine. I mean, these are our instincts. We all do that to a certain degree. Some of us more than others. Depends what is your life philosophy and where you're coming from. But yeah, watch your mind. This is coming as advice, the Seven of Swords. Your mind is going to try to rationalize certain things, certain actions, certain ways around you actually being present with what is needed. Don't let your mind just pull you in these trances of fear or of self-serving thoughts that can be damaging. Of course, we need to take care of ourselves. Of course, we need to be conscious of our needs and how to stay alive and this kind of stuff. Nobody's asking you to go to I don't know, to war, to sacrifice yourself. Maybe if you're a nurse or if you're a doctor, if you work in a supermarket, there's a certain degree of self-sacrifice involved in there, because of course these are the most exposed people that can I can't even imagine again how hard can it be in so many ways for the people that are being asked to show up in that way. But I don't think this is necessarily the case for these particular viewers of this particular video. If you are one of the people that are asked to go out there and show up to work, I thank you with all my heart, and I'm very grateful for your work. And this probably is also not your reading because this is not what these cards are pointing at. Okay, so Seven of Swords. The Magician. I haven't talked about the Magician here. I think that the clear message that comes with this advice pile is that you actually have the possibility to create the home environment that you want by being by not taking your mind as your own authority. Your mind is trying to keep you safe. It's very normal, and it tries to keep the animal you safe. The very this inner child. You can come up with so many strategies to get what it wants, or to protect you one way or another. But when we're in a social environment, of course, when we're in a family or in a group or in a tribe, it will also try to devise strategies and not feel more powerful, to feel more important, or things like this. So it is of tremendous importance for you to hold this energy of the Queen of Pentacles, of a groundedness and loving kindness, care, especially for yourself, because it is your inner child that's coming out, and yeah, probably all the other people's inner children as well. But you can't cater for that. You need to first cater for yourself, so you can show up in a way that is nurturing for others as well. I can't be nurturing to you if I'm not nurturing to myself. or I can until a point, and when I get completely drained, and then I go into self-preservation mode and starting to devise strategies of how to get out of it somehow. The magician is telling you have the knowledge, you have everything that you need, and you're going to be okay. You really are going to be okay. Because it's the magician, right? It really feels like magic the moment we let go of the mind and we come into the body, and we come into the this natural process that happens when we are not so cerebral. Not to say that we can't philosophize or have ideas or think. Of course, thinking is a process that is necessary in order to live, to come with problem solving and stuff with technology and everything involved. But sometimes overthinking can do the actual opposite, and I'm sure you know all about that. Okay, so future energy have the 10 of cups with the 10 of swords. And I feel like, the message here is that in order for this happiness, that this happy house, this happy family environment or group that you find yourself in to sort of happen, this 10 of swords also needs to happen. That complete surrender of the egoic mind. You see, have the 9 of swords here, and then the 7 of swords, and then the 10 of swords. What is challenging is to put your mind at rest, because your mind is going into complete fear mode. Allow the mind to really, really capitulate. I mean, it's not gonna help you. There was a saying from, I think, Thich Nhat Hanh from Plum Village. Let me see if I can recall. Well, I don't know if he said it. It's circulating in Buddhism anyway. Like if, or maybe the Dalai Lama. If you can't change it, then it doesn't make sense to worry about it. If you can't control it, no. But if you can, then just do it. And I don't know. I think I'm paraphrasing it really badly here. The point is that being stuck in fear, in anxiety, is obviously not going to serve you. The way to not get stuck in fear and anxiety is to create that schedule, create that structure, and get into your body and into your routines that really ground you. Everything that's truly grounding for you. And then allowing this defense mechanism that keeps showing up and trying to win this argument, to be competitive, to show off in whatever way, to relax. And actually this may be used as a fantastic end of a cycle of an outdated way of thinking that maybe you've been carrying with you from this whole belief system for a long time and you weren't aware of. Maybe you were aware of. Maybe it's something that you were all working with in a long time. A certain behavior that comes from an internalized belief that is being let go of now. It feels scary and it feels painful, but I think that you can definitely do it. Okay, let's see what's Rumi saying before this. What is the guidance for my dear, beautiful Taurus? Beyond death, life. And it's the number 1, just like the magician. Beginnings, my love. Number 1. Sometimes I feel like I'm reading from the Bible with this book here, this booklet. Okay, so the poem from Rumi says, footprints lead to the shore of the sea. Beyond that point, no trace remains. The soul craves variety because it leads to wholeness, and wholeness leads to divine revelation. The purpose of the soul reincarnating in this world in the first place is to realize its divinity through the sacred crucible of life. The older the soul, the closer it is to the realization of divine oneness, and the more powerful its determination to shed that which would constrain complete and conscious immersion into the divine presence. That's the shedding of the skin. This is what I kind of call the Ten of Swords all the time. For me, this is it. It's a shedding of a skin. It's a retiring of a persona that was coming up in me as a protective mechanism, or a behavior that I used as a coping mechanism in order to not to run away from anxiety and fear, things like that. So here you are at the edge of something you have known, at the cusp of an ending and a beginning. That's what we were saying. This 10 of the 2 tens here. There's obviously an ending, and if the one's a beginning. Perhaps you're already in surrender and falling in, or perhaps you are fearful and resisting as you greet your unknown destiny. Yet this moment is happening because your own divine soul has chosen for it to be this way, so that love may grow. There is no punishment in this ending, nor is there anything to fear. There may be pain, there may be grief and loss. There may be uncertainty and even insecurity, yet you have a heart big enough to bear such growing pains. Your heart is even big enough to receive the joy that is lying in wait for you as you stumble across her in the cross of your clumsy inspired travails into life. This is the joy. I mean, I feel you can feel this joy just as much as you feel the fear and pain. I feel just allow yourself to be present. Okay. So what must you do to receive this divine grace, this new life? You must be willing to face death. Hey gosh, look at this. With the Ten of Swords. It may be that death has come to you in the form of loss or of a beloved one, a physical loss that takes you into the darkest despair of depths of your grieving heart. It may be death that comes to you in the ending of financial or professional situation you once relied upon. Come on, that's kind of pretty much for everyone right now. But yeah, this is for sure one of your challenges. It could also be in the sense that you don't really know who you are anymore. Old identities have shown themselves to be inadequate, inaccurate, mere ego masks, too small for the great being that you are starting to suspect you might be. Yes, this is it. This is this Ten of Swords here that's supposed to come in your future. And trust me, you want this. You want this Ten of Swords. As freaky as it looks and as scary as it looks, we all want it actually. We all want to get rid of that skin, of the ego mask that is too small for the great being that I am, right? Okay, let's see what's the guidance. How to deal with this grace, hidden though it may be at first appear to be under the cloak of crisis, is up to you. No. How you deal with this grace, hidden though it may at first appear to be under the cloak of crisis, yes, is up to you. You have enough spiritual intelligence to shift perspective and to choose. That's what the Magician is also saying here. If you wish to rest your inner gaze upon what lies beyond the death, gaze instead upon the new life that is calling to you. When you know deep within that no matter what experiences you have had in your life, that you are untainted, you will be more easily able to trust the love the divine has for you. You won't question your worthiness, and therefore you will trust in life more easily and more fully, no matter how much it asks of you at times. The divine is a relentless lover. It wants nothing less than your total being to be held in its embrace. Sometimes that means we will have to give up lesser loves for the greater love, the divine one that calls us to remember our true nature. This is can be interpreted in many ways, actually, if you think about it, with this divine love. And it has to do a lot with your own belief system, of course. And I think that we're going back to this Seven of Wands here. So you are a beautiful blazing soul having a human experience that defies explanation and opens you up to divinity. That is what is happening in your life now, whether the death is obvious or painful to you, or whether you are uncertain as how it is as yet showing up in your life. Either way, there is an ending imminent and a new life coming to you with greater opportunity for your radiant soul to shine its beauty in the world. Grasp it eagerly, beloved. Now is not the time for fear or hesitation. Focus on what is becoming whilst honoring that what is no longer to be. Hi, sweet, sweet Taurus, if you've been losing somebody to this month or in this period, I offer my deepest condolences. It must be very, very hard. And of course, that or it may be the fear of losing someone. It is a deep challenge, death in whatever form it is, whether it's direct, like facing death in front of us by losing someone dear, or knowing that we're going to die soon, or things like that. It's one of the greatest challenges of the human experience, dealing with death, but it's also the most transformative one. And we get the deepest education from that. And if the death is not also apparent, if it's an ending of sorts, or for just, well, it's an ending of sorts for many of us, but in whatever form or shape takes for you, I hope these words from this oracle were helpful to you to really connect to that part of you, that divine part of you that knows that you are okay and you're going to be okay no matter what. Okay, my dear Taurus, I hope this makes sense to you. If you resonate with this reading, please like, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful process here. It doesn't look easy, but I think that as the oracle also stated, you have the knowledge, you have the understanding, you have everything that you need to pull through this. So sending lots of love. May our practice benefit all beings.